Transformers Legacy Wave 3 is now hitting store shelves in full force. And with it, it's bringing a figure that I've been very much looking forward to, Armada Universe Starscream. Let's get into it. How's it going, everyone? deceptibot9 here, and thank you as always for joining me here on the channel today. Now, before we get too far into the review, go ahead, if you like what you see, leave me a like. If you want to stay tuned for all the future content I've got planned and see what I've got coming next, go ahead and subscribe down below as well. It does really truly mean a lot to me. Plus, if you want to follow me anywhere else on the internet, you can go ahead and find me on TikTok at deceptibot9, on Twitter at deceptibot9, and on Instagram at deceptibot9reviews. So, like I said, I'm so excited about Armada Universe Starscream because I am a child of the Unicron trilogy, as I have talked about many times on my channel before. Particularly, I grew up on Transformers Cybertron, but there was still a lot of Armada influence in my youth Transformers days. I had the PS2 game, I had the official Armada guidebook. I didn't have any of the toys. I might have had the Optimus Prime toy at one point in time or another, but I kind of missed out on the Armada toys, but there was still a lot of Armada left over. And now that I've sort of grown up and I've had the chance to go back and view Armada, play the game again, all that kind of stuff, I do really like Armada, and it's part of the Unicron trilogy, so it's special for me. And anytime there are Unicron trilogy figures in main line these days, I am going to pick them up because I want Hasbro to know I want more Unicron trilogy toys. I want more Armada. I want more Cybertron. Hell, if they want to throw an Energon or two in there, I will also pick that up just because I want to support Unicron trilogy. So, with all that said, without a further ado, let's go ahead and take a closer look at Legacy Armada Universe Starscream. And here is Armada Universe Voyager class Starscream in his robot mode. And guys, I mean, come on. Like, he looks so good. So straight out of Armada. And I'm going to say it at the top of this video, this is probably my favorite Starscream to have come out of mainline in a few years. I know the most recent one was Coronation Starscream. I never bothered picking him up. And before that was probably Earthrise. I don't think I'm missing one in the middle there, because there wasn't any in Kingdom besides Core Class, obviously. But this guy rocks. I mean, again, it is in part to the fact that I grew up with Unicron trilogy, so sometimes when I think Starscream, this is one of those designs that just pops out to me in my head, even though I'll usually think about G1 or Cybertron first, just because those are what I'm more familiar with. Armada is a just genuine Starscream staple these days. He's such a great take on the character, design-wise and characterization-wise. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a closer look at some details on this guy. Alright, coming in here first at the head sculpt, I mean, it looks great. It's still kind of traditional Starscream-esque, with its own little Armada flair on it, and I think it looks absolutely terrific. Coming down here to the main chest and arms, we got a lot of nice red. He's kind of reflective. I got a new light, can you guys tell? Reflective there on the red, but the red paint looks awesome. It matches fairly well with the red plastic. You can see that this part is red plastic because we've got some painted yellow here and it looks great. Some black, some nice detail there. Here's the cockpit with a nice shiny metallic blue and some good details there. Wings got the Decepticon logos on them, of course. They're in a nice shiny gray with some red highlights. Down here, the arms use the same gray. There's nice mechanical detailing all over. Here you can see one of his accessories is his wing sword. We'll get into that in a minute. And the other one over here is the Star Saber. Once again, we'll get into that in a minute. Coming around on the back, there is a little bit more detail, obviously, because we got the nice cannons and some more details that will be more prominent in jet mode, but it is basically his back. Down here, we got the legs. Nice detail here on the backs of the thighs, the backs of the shins, all that jazz. Coming around to the sides, you see the nice detail here all over the place. He looks great all the way around. Very accurate representation of Starscream from Armada. Back down here, I want to cover accessories and some play features on the guy. First, here's his wing sword up close. And honestly, this is one of the more disappointing parts of the figure for me, because while it does look great, I mean, it looks all right. It is just a gray piece of plastic. I wish they had painted this front part red, because, you know, it would match then the wing, because if you don't know Armada Starscream, the wing, one of his wings comes off to actually become this sword in the original source material and the toy. I'll throw a picture up here. I'm sure most of you know. But, so it does have that red accent here because it folds out, and that would have been kind of nice. But, I mean, it does have some lines and some detail on it overall, and it does look nice when he's holding it in his hand. I think it looks quite good, but yeah, I don't know, it just needs that splash of red. It needs that splash of red. The other weapon accessory we get here is the Star Saber, which I think looks nice. I really like the blue paint on it. You can see all the detail. I think they put most of the accessory budget to the Star Saber rather than his sword, but I mean, it looks great. You can tell that there's some jets in there, and you can tell, I mean, if you know, these are the mini-cons, the space team, or whatever they're exactly called, I can't remember, but it looks really nice. My only gripe is I do wish it was a tad bit bigger, but I mean, you can see it looks all right in his hand, and of course, when Evolution Hotshot comes out in a few months, we'll throw that on him too and see how that looks. In terms of other, there's no other accessories that you get with him, but what you can do for some fun playability is these cannons that are on the back can actually pivot up onto his shoulders like they do in the show. So you kind of got to grab it by the butt flap here, flip it up like this first till they're flush. Then you'll see there's two little tabs here on his back. There's two little holes on this red piece. So you can fold this red piece down if you're holding onto the cannons and tab it into the back. And you can leave those up. And I mean, if you like that look, go for that look. It looks great. I love the way that looks. Plus, of course, there's no actual mini-con included here, but you can still activate his mini-con power. Oh my goodness, he's fallen. Can activate his mini-con power, which is, of course, those big jets coming out around to the front. Plus, as you can see, as per usual these days, they've got 5mm holes in them. So if you wanted to throw a couple blast effects onto both of those, get the big ones going, then he can't see because he's doing some big blasts. But you can put blast effects on there. And I guess I should mention while we're talking about accessories, both of these do have 5mm pegs on them. So instead of putting the handles in the hands, you can, if you want to put them on the side of the arm, you could do that. But there is also pegs on the back of the wings, which is where they will store in vehicle mode. But if you want to store the swords on the backs of the wings, you know, pointing down or pointing to the side or whatever, you can store them back there as well. All right, with accessories out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at his articulation, because he is pretty full of articulation, but I do have at least one major qualm with the articulation. So the head here is on a pretty solid ball joint. It is, you can see, a little far back, more so than I'm used to on some of these heads, but it allows him for a great range of head movement. Plus, it can get him looking all the way up like that, which from this angle is pretty bad, but I mean, if you want to get him in some sort of flight pose like up here, that looks really good. Plus, I think they use this joint for transformation when his head stores down here. So it does have its uses. It's just a weird kind of placement, but the arms also rotate. They can rotate all the way around, but of course are blocked by the wings. They do have a hinge right here to allow them to go all the way up just like that. Bicep swivel here, just like normal. It can go all the way around, but gets hindered. The arms, he has a double elbow joint, so you can get it going all the way bent. You'll see that more here in transformation in a minute. Here is one of my qualms. I said I had one major one, but here's one of my other ones. There is no wrist articulation just due to the way it transforms, so unfortunately, no swivel. I can kind of live with that. But here's my one major qualm, is the waist does have solid pivot movement going on. It can go all the way around, except for the fact that this nose cone is in the way. The nose cone tabs into the belly section up here so that it stays locked and secure, which is great, and of course it is very accurate this way, but it then is blocking how much his hips can move. So it hasn't really been too much of a trouble for me yet. It's just some flight poses look a little weird because I want his legs to go over more, or if I'm rotating his hips like that. I mean, he can go a little bit of the ways, but not as much as I would like sometime. Legs go forward about, I mean, they can go forward pretty far because they move a little bit out of the way, and they go backwards again just as far, just like that, or if they go straight back, they get blocked by the lock here. Legs go out a tremendous deal. They go so far. He might be the best splits on the channel so far. Of course, he can't stay in them that high very long because his nose cone is in the way. He can only go about that far, but you know, we're gonna count it anyway. Legs swivel here at the thigh at the top. Bend, knee bend is pretty incredible. It goes pretty far. And of course, down here at the ankles, they pivot side to side, and they are articulated to get a bend out of them. All right, let's do some comparisons to some other robots, shall we? First up, here he is with the Thrilling 30 Armada Starscream, who I used to love back in the day. This was probably one of my favorite Thrilling 30 figures. He's great all around, and you can see that this Armada one, or this Legacy one, is a vast improvement over the Thrilling 31, but this is a great little guy all around too. Speaking of Thrilling 30, kind of, here is Legacy Voyager G-Axis, who is probably the best Voyager from Legacy so far, but of course they retooled Thrilling 30 Starscream into G-Axis. I don't have that one, but you can see how these two look together. G-Axis is pretty large, honestly. He is towering over Armada Starscream there. And here he is with Earthrise Starscream, who I never thought was really that bad, but Armada Starscream is such a better figure than Earthrise Starscream. Sorry, Earthrise. All right, let's go ahead and get into transformation. Legacy Armada Starscream in his jet mode, and it's so cool. It looks so great. I mean, basically one-to-one of how he looked in the show and the original toy, and you can see, like, even on a flight stand here, he just looks incredible. I think this has always been one of Starscream's coolest jet modes, right there next to Cybertron's. I love the Unicron trilogy, again, if you can't tell, but I mean, yeah, he looks great. I love the way he looks. And the transformation is super simple and straightforward. And I don't have the original Armada Starscream toy to compare with that transformation, but I mean, it makes a lot of sense for the character design. You know, you flip the legs up, fold them around, and you fold the nose cone out. It's pretty similar also to Thrilling 30, but with improvements, which is what I really like about this one, is because he feels a lot like the Thrilling 30. Like, Thrilling 30 was kind of a stepping stone for this one to come out, and they just made so many improvements to that Thrilling 30 version, and including upscaling him as well. So overall, I love this vehicle mode. It is so cool. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at some of the details. There's not many new ones, but let's look anyway. All right, so coming in here, I mean, like I said, there's not really any new details exposed here in the jet mode. Like, everything we saw in robot mode is here and accounted for. It's just in a different place. I mean, we got the cockpit, which looks great. I mean, we saw that earlier. The jets now are on the top and a little more visible. The wings here are all one cohesive piece now because the shoulders were part of the wings as well. And you can see here's the weapon storage for it. You can put them right under the wings. The hands fold up, obviously, and we get the little pods underneath underneath there. You get to see a little bit, there's his little face peeking out. Here's the waist piece right here. The details that were the back of the shins now is the bottom of the jet part right there to go along with the legs. But yeah, I mean, nothing much new going on here. Pretty much what you see is what you get. My one gripe with the jet mode though is the back part. The legs don't really seem to tab together all too well. You can see there's supposed to be, I mean, not supposed to be, there is a tab there that tabs into a hole down there as well, but you kind of gotta push it a little bit to get it to stay, and even then it doesn't like to stay very much. This red piece also is supposed to kind of loop around. If I move this, loops around some of these pieces here on the back of the legs, so if you get them all kind of settled, it stays well enough. And of course these clip together right here, but it stays well enough. But if you kind of hit it the wrong way, it will come untabbed. So it's no big deal because it's not like it's holding the entire jet together, then it falls apart, but it can be a little annoying to have that back part pop up. So just like we had in robot mode, obviously too with these, you can flip them forward as you saw if you would like, as if his mini-con were attached to him. I think it looks a little goofier here in jet mode, but I mean, it's how it looked in the original, so not going to complain too much about that. But let's see how he looks against some of the other jets, shall we? All right, so here he is next to the Thrilling 30 version, and I mean, you can tell that it's going for the same jet. This one's a little more stylized, a little more maybe IDW stylized, at least in this mode you can kind of tell, but I mean, looking at the comparison there, this one obviously is a lot more accurate to the original cartoon and toy, but they're going for the same basic thing, and they both look pretty solid, although just overall, I'm giving it to the Legacy version, especially like look at the difference in the reds. It's kind of weird. Like this, at least on the camera under the light, this one looks a little more orangey, but you can tell this one is a red. Here he is next to G-Axis in their vehicle modes, and G-Axis is a lot bigger. I mean, he's a lot longer, that's for sure. Thicker on the bottom too, because the arms just kind of rest there. But I mean, overall, they're both pretty slick looking jets here next to each other, and they're really cool not being the same-ish style jet like the previous G-Axis. And of course, here he is with the classic Starscream, the Earthrise Starscream, and there's a really big difference between these two jet modes. It's kind of weird for how similar the robot modes were in size. The Earthrise Starscream got a lot larger. That is very, very odd how much bigger he is. I mean, he feels a lot more hollow than this one. This one feels a lot more compact and there's a little more weight to him, but whew, geez, I did not realize that big of a difference was going to be between these two Starscreams. I mean, I'm still picking this one all day long over the Earthrise, but man, that's a big difference. All right, that's going to do it for a closer look at Legacy Armada Universe Starscream. So let's go ahead and throw it back up to me for my final thoughts. All right, so what are my final thoughts here on Legacy Armada Starscream? Well, I mean, if you guys couldn't tell throughout the video, I think he's awesome. He's super terrific. He is a great representation of Armada Starscream in the modern form. I love all of the Legacy Unicorn Trilogy figures that have come out so far. I mean, Override is great. Metroplex is fantastic. And now we got Armada Starscream to go with it. I hope Hotshot carries this trend of being just a fabulous update to these old Unicron Trilogy figures. And if you're a fan of Armada, if you're a fan of Starscream, you're definitely going to want to add this guy. Even if you're not a huge fan of Armada, I mean, this is a great version of Starscream to have. He's so much better than Earthrise. He's just overall terrific. I can get past the minor qualms, the not securely staying in jet mode and the waist swivel in robot mode, because he is terrific all around the board with everything else. Alright guys, that is going to conclude my review of Legacy Armada Universe Starscream. So go ahead and let me know down below your thoughts about this figure. If you have him, what do you think? Are you looking forward to picking him up? Do you have him on pre-order? All of that fun stuff. Let's talk Legacy Armada Starscream down below. And if you guys made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you so much. It does really, truly mean a lot to me. I truly appreciate it. And as always, guys, I've been your host, deceptibot9. Thank you all for joining me here on the channel. Before I forget, it's almost the end of the year, so look forward to very, very soon our annual Deceptibot9 end of the year, or figure of the year tournament. I did one last year. Go ahead and check it out if you haven't already, where I just take all my favorite figures from the year and I put them head to head in a bloodbath battle to see who is the absolute best. So look forward to that coming soon. So, as always, guys, I've been your host, deceptibot9. Thank you all for joining me. Blah, blah, blah. I'll see you guys later.